Bob Huber, Vintage Lambo, winging another video here. Let's see what we can do. Okay, we're talking about exhaust systems on 350, 400, and a Solero. I have the diagram here. This happens to be for the 350. There's one that looks the same as the 400 because they just changed some numbers. But on the 350, they had a actual muffler. On the 400, they went through a straight through resonator round two because they lowered the floor. Okay, done there. All right, so on these, there's a weakness on these exhaust systems, and that is that the flanges are a bit small and thin. So what happens is that you're just going to lose on this straight off the bat because these things want to move around with the engine running and whatnot and things flexing towards the back of the car but not really at the front of the car. You can see what's going to happen. So normally if you're driving the car, if you get off the throttle and you start hearing that pop 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 sound, I would say a good chance would be that it's that you're either leaking here or you're leaking up here. So we want to have a reliable exhaust system. So we're going to do a few things different from the factory. Some things we have to do different because the aftermarket parts that are available today are not exactly the same as they were, but everything works out and it's going to be a real good system. So, okay, let's just talk about this little diagram right here. 350 has this style of muffler. The 400 is straight through resonator. Anza is not producing this muffler unit, this center pipe. They are just doing the round 400. Okay, it will fit if you make some modifications to the hanger system. And it's a fine. It's not going to be like it's going to be a loud car or anything like that. It's still going to be just great. So but that's what we have to work with because the car has a newer Anza system on it. So we need to work on this for the hangers because when this muffler system was put on, the hangers, they don't fit. The 350 and 400 different locations for these little hangers here, okay? So there's four here, missing. So that's something that's not going for it right there. So now the support of this, it's going to put more stress on these little flanges here. The rear muffler, they do make the 350 variety because it is canted differently because of a different gas tank system. So it does have that. Although this pipe right here, as I had spoken on a previous video, is just a round tube that goes right through the suspension half shaft area. Well, there's not much room. There's about 15 millimeters. That's it. And the way that how the rear muffler hangs and how Anza made this up, it just put the pipe right on to the A-arm. So it's hitting. So we don't want that to happen. And we want to bring this Anza system up to the factory way they did it. And what they did is when they mounted everything, they were able then to do a dimple on the top. And we'll get into the tooling on that in a second. So to do this exhaust, we need to stabilize the rear mufflers. And so I'm going to take the straps off temporarily. We're going to just put solid steel so that this muffler is going to be very stable because we want to put it exactly where we want it. We want that outlet, the angle, everything perfect. And then we're going to work on the piping. So we're going to have this guy in great shape. Then we're going to put the headers on, and with the 400 round muffler, we're going to modify the back of the muffler just a little bit. I have some Anza, the flanges that will replace this slip joint. The reason I want to do that is because this muffler is in the way when you're playing around with alignment and whatnot. If you want to do anything in that back area, you might want to take the muffler down. So wouldn't it be nice if it had a 2-bolt flange here that you can just take these 4 off here, plus the, let me get into this. It was missing the strap that goes right here. So it had one of these guys, and that was folded over onto the pipe, and no strap was installed. So this system had 10 of these missing. So out of the 18 total, 10 of those were not on the car. Now, I just want to state that if you just have it hanging here and it's solid over here, you're putting a lot of stress on the flanges on the engine and also down here at the bottom of the headers. And we want to alleviate any stresses on this exhaust system. So I want to put a 2-bolt flange here, and then we can take the muffler off, and then we can deal with any rear suspension issues that we want to do any adjusting. All right, that's another change that I want to make on here. I will be incorporating all 18 straps, and if I need to modify the straps, I can take this rivet out. I can make this any length that, if I want to make this shorter, I can make it shorter. But they just, from the factory, they just had 2 of them, but you can make it anything you want if you want to do some modifications just to get this thing perfect. And that's what we want. We want a really nice exhaust system where we have no leaks and have some good longevity. Now, went in this and did some hand filing, and my friend Stanley, master craftsman, I went over to his shop. I said, hey, I want to get these all flat. Can you give me some tips? So I'll show him the video. I videoed him doing a flange, and I said, hey, thanks so much. And then he let me just use his shop, and then I was able to just do them all. Really nice, very kind of him to do that. And the reason that we do the hand filing is you have so much more control. You don't want to take off too much metal. And with the hand filing, you really have a hands-on, essentially, situation there. So I really enjoyed it, putting the bluing on and blah, blah, blah. You'll see that in the video. All right, so we're going to mount this exactly where we want it. So it comes out the back perfect, angles perfect. So that's going to be solid mounted. Put the headers on. This piping in here, what I would like to do, which I've done before, is I add these little guys, these little flex couplers here. And with this coupler, it's going to take away all of the issues that you have with these flanges being weakened, and they're constantly trying to leak is what they're trying to do. So what we can do is we can get this all sealed up properly from the beginning, and then we take all of the stress away by putting these couplers on. So we're going to put 4 of these on the car up in this area here. We are going to put some of the O2 sensor bungs for testing purposes. Those will be installed in here. Again, this 2-bolt flange. We're going to get the muffler sitting, which is a resonator. It's going to sit exactly where we want it on the center exhaust. This is sitting, and it is just in there with, it's in there solid, exactly where we want it. And then we're going to be playing with this pipe right here. The way Anza has it, it doesn't fit right. We're going to make it fit right. And in doing so, we want to get this pipe to be not by the A-arm, but we want it right next to the half shaft, because right now I've got it maxed down. it's a 25-degree angle on the half shaft. So with this pipe right there at the half shaft, at that point, we're going to put, with this tooling here, we're going to put the factory dimple that Anza didn't put in. And so with this, we're going to be able to cant this at 25 degrees when we have the pipe. When we do it, we'll have this, we'll set it all up. So when I do this, I won't have to go as deep as the factory. So let's just say 20% less we can get away with, because the factory just did it straight up and down, not taking into the account the half shaft angle. So we're going to take the half shaft angle into account, and then we won't have to do as severe a dimpling. That's the plan. Now we'll see how that comes about, but anyway, that's what I'm going to try and do. All right, so let's roll the film. Sorry it's taken so long to get to this point. Please like and subscribe. Super appreciate it. We're on a roll. I just can't believe, well, we've got over 1,000. That's fantastic. Okay, talk to you soon. Let's roll that film. Going to do a slight boring on here, true it up, and then I'm going to fit in a slug inside this. And the reason I go for this and a little extra work is again, I get these, this is more like a remnant type of thing. So the pricing on this aluminum is just so much better than if I had gotten a half a foot or a foot or something like that. Just so outrageous, and I don't need it. I can work with working it this way. So this is just, it'll be just as good a product. And so that's why I do this. Okay, so I've machined the surface. I got the bore where I want it. I faced this off. I'm going to flip it around, then finish it off on the other side. Yes, I went for a good round finish here. Is it critical? No, but while I'm here, let's just do it. You can get the idea. Definitely pushing my saw capacity. Closer. All right. Thank you, Stanley. One is done. Now many more to go. All right, Stanley has given me a lot of pro tips on what to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the headers. So I think it's going to be so much better that these things are going to seal from the get-go. And then also I'm going to be doing some flex joints in the actual exhaust pipes so that we don't have a problem, because these joints, hang on one second. Okay, for example, you know, right here where we're having those leaks on these thin flanges, but if we put a flex joint before it gets to this point, and so with the engine moving and the exhaust wanting to move and whatnot, with the flex joints, you're not going to have a problem with this fatiguing and gasket leaks. This is such a typical problem on here, so we're going to cure that. All right, so I hit it with the coarse file. I'm going to now re-blue it, and then I'm going to hit it with a finer file. Okay, we blued it. I've got it drying, and I'm going to hit it now with a finer file. All right, I halfway through or so, I switch positions to get a better angle on things, you know, varying everything, keeping things as level as possible. I'm not pushing hard with the files, and so everything's looking really good. I'm looking right at this point here. I'm going to blue this area once more and finish it off. So just put some light strokes on here so you can see I still have a little bit there that I need to deal with. So it's good just to do blue. This is like the third bluing. So I'm happy with this. This is so minuscule. It's really just a discoloration a little bit there. And right here, I'm going to work on this a little bit more. I didn't put a lot of effort into this, so this should come out pretty easy. This side is real good. I'm just going to work a little bit more there, but this is just light filing just to finish things off. Okay, so this flange, we're going to call this real good and move on to the next. Not to dwell on this, but each one of them has their own little thing going on, so we just have to do each and every one of them, and that's what we're doing. So as you can see, you know, when you bolt these things together, and if you're having an exhaust leak problem, the tendency is just crank on these two bolts to then the flange starts even bending more this way, and then it's really not curing the leak problem. So by, you know, getting everything flat, you know, you don't have to put as much pressure also on clamping this together. And since the whole surface is going to be good, it's going to be more uniform. So just have to go ahead. We have to take some metal off. There's just no other way around it. But when we do, it's going to just make a world of difference. Okay, making headway on this. So you can see this is almost, this side needs more, so everything has to shift a little bit that way. So I'm still going to be working these outers to get this down though. You don't want to like say, oh, I'm going to concentrate on there, because then you're defeating the purpose. So you still have to say, hey, I'm high on here, and that's what's causing that. This is why it's good just to continue doing the bluing. You know, if I didn't, I would say, oh, this side is all nice and perfect, but it's really not. And this is probably, it's going to look worse than you thought it was, because, you know, as you work it, you know, maybe some of the bluing comes off, you know, you might not the perfect stroke or whatever. So it's good, just once you get into it, just blue it again, and then you're going to have a really good eye on what's going on. All right, I think this is pretty darn good with the coarse file. I'm going to then just file it out with the, I'm going to blue it and then do a finer file. You know, you have some corrosion issues right here, but it's sort of on the outside. If I can get a decent amount of flat surface here, I'm pretty happy with that. The gasket will do some wondrous work, but again, we want to try and get this as flat as possible so that the gasket doesn't have to work as hard. All right, working the fine file. So you can see these things are coming. Of course, this has been rotated, but that seemed to have been the worst area there, and this one was coming along. But I think everything's working pretty well with the fine file. Let's continue. All right, I think we're going to call it quits on this one here. I think everything worked out pretty well. I think we're going to get a good seal off that flange. Well, indications are this one is not too bad, so we'll just see what the reality is. Indications were that this was in pretty good shape before we started doing some filing and bluing, but you can see right in here, could probably use a little work, and you can see on both these areas here, and again on these areas here. Essentially, wherever the bolts are, they'll go in a bit and warp the flanges. So even though the gaskets were doing a pretty good job, this was just on the test stand. Didn't run that long. So even though it looked pretty good, maybe the longevity of the gasket might not been as long as it's going to be now that we're going to have this really flat. All right, we're looking pretty good here. Just one more round of fine filing. I'll do another blue and that will be it on this, and then I'll have one more header to go. All right, so we have this, some of this pitting over here, it's just not worth taking all the metal down to get rid of that. It's on the outskirts of it. So I think, all things considered, I think this is going to do really well. Again, right on the outskirts. This is not in the way. We really need a good section right in around here, and we have that. Okay, so one more header. Again, doesn't look too bad at the moment. Of course, again, not much time on it. Let's take a look, see what we see after we blew it. All right, so you can see after we did a coarse file to get the coating off, and then we went ahead, put some blue on it, and then did some 20 strokes of the coarse. You can see that we still have some work to do right in here. So it's going to be even better than it looked prior to this. So coarse file, you can see we've got this edge pretty decent over here. That's a corrosion in there, and working on that, so it's getting pretty good. I wonder, did they ever, after they welded these flanges on, did they ever file them from the factory? Who knows? Okay, now with the fine file, again bluing it, and I was able to get just about all that pitting out of there. I think this is pretty good. Okay, just clean the lens off. It might even look better now, huh? Okay, so this pitting, that's gone. This one over here, I'm surprised, but I got that out pretty good. This little residual here, I'm not going to matter doing anything there. I think it's all very, very flat. This one, I'm not thinking it's going to be too bad, so I'll just get at it. So you can definitely see with this flange that sticks out, this thing is causing a bit of a problem. I have to take down this so that we can really get into this area here. That was definitely a leaker area. So this is kind of a problem right here, so we're going to take care of that problem. Making headway, but you can see this is definitely the biggest problem right here, because this guy here is high. So all of this is shaping up fine, but I just have to get this area here, and with the stroke going across, I have to bridge it here and here all the time so that I can make sure that everything goes flat. Okay, further along, so now you can see I'm getting down. Now this is a little bit of some type of a pit of some sort. So we're going to try and work it so that we can alleviate this pit, and I think we're pretty good on this particular flange. Okay, this is looking pretty good. You can see where there's some little micro pitting there, but you just can't continue to try and make everything go away, and you'll be sacrificing the whole flange. So I think I've got this down very well, so I think I'm in good shape. So now I'm going to concentrate back onto this one, and that will be it. All right, coarse filing, and you can see this is coming along and that's coming along. More of a major problem here, just a smidgen there. That's going to be taken care of straight away, but this is going to be the one that's going to probably be the one that's going to be the last to solve. Did I say I was done? Oops. No, one more to go, and on this side, little small one, that's done. I need to just do these. This one looked good, when I started out, but you can see It's got this gouge right here. I'm not too worried about that. If I can get this all cleaned up in this area here, I'm pretty good. And I've been working this pretty good to try and get everything straightened out. It's coming along really well.